Good day, welcome to today's class. If this is your first time on this channel, please click on the red subscription button to subscribe to this YouTube channel so that when I drop more educative content, you will get notified. So in today's class, as you can see, I'll be talking about overhead. Now, based on the fact that there are a lot of demands on this channel requesting for videos on overhead, and that's the reason why I've taken my time to come and explain this topic in full. Now, when we talk about overhead, overhead are just indirect expenses that are being incurred, indirect expenses that are being incurred in an organization. Yeah, I will explain the meaning of overhead. Let me explain in concept what we mean by overhead. Let's say, for example, now look at the cost of raw materials. The cost of raw materials. Now, raw materials in an organization can only be used in the production department, right? Because if I buy raw materials, the only place I'm going to be using raw materials is in production department. I cannot use raw materials in sales department. I cannot use raw materials in HR department. So now this cost of these raw materials or cost of raw materials can only be traced or be allocated to the production department only. That makes this a direct cost. Why is it a direct cost? Because it can only be traced to a particular production unit. It can only be traced to a particular production unit, like I said. So make this that makes this a direct materials. A direct materials is a direct cost rather. Is a cost that can be traced to a unit of production. On the other hand, let's talk about electricity. Now, if you look at electricity, the question is, are we to trace the cost of electricity to just one production unit? No, of course, because in HR department we use electricity. In production department we use electricity, of course, because of our complex machines. In in the office, in the organization, so virtually every department in an organization makes use of electricity. If they are not using it for complex machines, they are using it to power the bulb, to on fan, and a lot of that. So this that makes the cost of electricity an indirect cost. Why? Because it cannot be traced to a particular production unit. It is attributed to lots of production units. It is going into different ways. That makes this an indirect cost. So I hope you now get the difference between a direct cost that can be traced to a particular production unit and an indirect cost that cannot be traced to a particular production unit. Now, the question is, what brought about this overhead? You see, there are two major things we need to discuss when it comes to overhead, and that's what we call overhead allocation and overhead apportionment. Overhead allocation and overhead apportionment. Now, majorly for today's class, I'll focus on overhead apportionment. Now, what do we mean by overhead allocation? Overhead allocation, like I said the other time, I said the cost of the cost of raw materials should not be taken to any other department but production department. Why? Because the only place where we incur production, or the only place where we produce, the only place where we need raw materials in an organization is in the production department. So the cost of production should be allocated to production department. That's what we call overhead allocation. Overhead allocation is when we take a particular cost unit to a particular cost center because that cost is attributed to that cost center. If I'm taking cost of my raw materials is attributed to my production department, so I take my cost, my cost to the production department, cost of raw materials to the production department. Why? Because it is attributed there. That is where we use it. But if you look at electricity on the other hand, we use electricity in different departments. So what do we need to do in that situation? We need to apportion. So allocation is overhead allocation is when you take a particular cost, the full cost, you take it to a particular department because yes, this cost is being incurred in this department. Overhead apportionment is when a particular cost has to do with many departments, so you have to share, you have to apportion. So that's different between overhead allocation and overhead apportion. While overhead allocation is taking a full cost to a particular cost center because that is where it is being incurred. That is where we use the cost. Overhead apportionment is when we share it between many departments because yes, it is not just only one department that's using it. It has to do with many departments. So, but for the sake of this video, I'll focus majorly on what we call overhead apportionment. Overhead allocation is not something that is actually really difficult. You just when you track a cost, you get to know where it's being incurred. Like a good example I gave, I say cost of raw materials. where is it being incurred? It's being incurred in the production department. So we charge that cost to the production department. As simple as that. But in a situation where we have to apportion between many departments, we need to share costs between many departments. How do we do it? How do we go about it? That's what we mean by what? Overhead apportionment. So we're going to talk about overhead apportionment, the basis of apportioning, how we apportion when we have different departments in an organization, when we have separate service department also, how do we apportion? Let's go. Now, for the sake of this video, to talk about overhead apportionment, I will need to play an illustration for us so that we can understand it very, very, very well. Now, this illustration, I need to focus on where your exam questions lies. So that is where I'm going to focus. But I need to explain the basics. So follow me as I break down the basics for you to understand so that you can get it. Now, follow me in my illustration. Let's say, for example, we have in an organization, we have, let's say, three departments and one service department. Yes, it's possible to have a service department in an organization that makes goods or that makes products. How? Let's say, for example, we have production department, HR department, and let's say another department. But there is a service department. We all need to let's say probably we all need massage after producing. You'll be tired, you need massage. Like Google, for example, allow their workers to go for massage even during working hours, to go for rest and all of that. So in that situation, let's say we have a department that renders massage to workers anytime they are tired. That's a service department. So we can have a service department in an organization. It's very, very, very possible. So let's say we have three production departments. So let's say production department, sorry, production department. We have production department A, production department B, and production department C. And we have the service department. We have service department D, and let's say service department. Okay, let's service just one service department D. So we have three production departments A, B, C, and we have one service department which is service department D. And let's say we want to apportion costs. These are different departments, four different departments, but this is production department, this is service department. So let's say, for example, we want to apportion costs between all these departments. Let's say the cost we want to apportion is, let's say we want to apportion electricity. We've been told that electricity is 110,000 naira. We also been told that rent is, let's say, 200,000 naira. And let's say we have salaries, total salaries that has been paid. Let's say we have 500,000. Now, if you look at these three expenses that we want to apportion, don't forget that I said apportionment means sharing costs between separate departments, right? When you are sharing costs, a cost that's attributed to different departments, you want to share. Good. Now, how do we apportion this cost? That's the question you need to ask me. Electricity, rent, and if you look at these three costs, electricity will be used both in this department, this department, this department, and this department. We all need electricity. Rent, of course, they need a place to stay, a roof over their head. So rent is attributed to all departments. Salaries, of course, there are people working in all departments, so salary should be attributed, should be shared between all departments. Now, these are the costs we want to apportion. These are the costs we want to share. Then we also give you what we call basis of apportionment. Now, listen, this is where the issue comes in. The basis of apportionment, you will be the one to determine which one to use for which one. Let's say, for example, now we've been told that the basis of apportionment, let's say, basis of apportionment that has been given to apportion this cost. We've been told that we have land area occupied, land area, land area. Let's say by department A occupied 3/10, department B occupy let's say 3/10. 2/10. Department C occupies 4/10, and department D occupy 1/10. Now, they gave us basis of apportionment. Like I said, you really want to determine it, but it's very, very simple to determine it. As a matter of fact, they in your professional exams, if you're writing a professional exam, they will not give you this thing I'm explaining because it's very simple. So just follow me and I will review the simplicity in it to you. So we have basis of apportionment. They'll give you, let's say, kilowatts of electricity use, kilowatts of electricity used. Now, let's say kilowatt of electricity. These are just basis of apportionment. They will never tell you which one to use to apportion. They will just give you everything. But from just thinking alone, you know that this one should be used for this. This one you'll be able to identify. So let's say department A use 5,000 kilowatts. Department B use 2,500 kilowatts. Department C use 3,000 kilowatts, and Department D use 500 kilowatts. And last one, number of workers. Number of workers. Now let's say in Department A we have 20 workers. Department B we have 15 workers. Department C we have 18 workers, and Department D we have 5 workers. Now this is a question. Just follow. Now, Department A, Department B, Department C, Department D. These are the costs we want to apportion, we want to share. Don't forget how we started. Now, for us to share all these costs, they give us this basis of apportionment. That means that what we are going to use to share all these costs. But they never told us which one to use to share which one. Now, the question is electricity. What is the best, or what is best suit to share electricity in all these costs? If you agree with me, is it basis of is it land area? Does electricity have anything to do with land area? Is it number of workers? The best thing that best suits to share electricity is kilowatts of electricity used in each department. So rent, what about rent? What's the best thing that is available here to share rent? Is it land area? Is it kilowatt of electricity? Is it number of workers? Of course, you agree with me that it is land area, the area of land occupied. And what is the best thing here to share salaries? You agree with me is number of workers. So this is basis of apportionment. Apportionment is actually very simple, but I'm going to talk about the hard part of it. So to apportion this now, let's quickly apportion this to all departments. Then here we have the total. Now we go to apportion electricity, which is 110,000 naira. You accept with me that the best thing is here is kilowatts. And now electricity, which is kilowatts, we have how many departments? Department A, B, C, D. What is the total number of kilowatt that is being used? 5,000 plus 3,000 plus 2,500 plus 500. That's 11,000 naira. So total number of kilowatts used is 11,000 kilowatts. 11,000 kilowatts. Now, how am I going to apportion this 11,000 kilowatts? 11,000 kilowatts. Now, I have department A that use 5,000. So 5,000 divided by 11,000, which is the portion of department A out of the total. The portion department A use divided by the total, 5,000 divided by 11,000, then times what's the total number of electricity? 110,000. 110,000. I'll do the same thing for B. For department A, for department B used 2,500 divided by 11,000 times 110,000. Department C used 3,000 divided by 11,000 times 110,000, and department D use 500 divided by 11,000 times 110,000. So if you do the calculation, 5,000 divided by 11,000 times 110, that gives us 50,000. So department A, electricity. So we have 50,000 for department A, 50,000 for department B, A. So 2,500, which is department B, divided by 11,000 times 110,000, 25,000. Department B has 25,000. Department C, which is 3,000 divided by 11,000 times 110,000, 30,000. Department C is 30,000. And department D, which is 500 divided by 11,000 times 110,000, 5,000, 5. So if you had everything, 50,000 plus 25, 50,000 plus 25 plus 30 plus 5, that gives us 110,000. So as simple as it is, this is how we apportion electricity based on kilowatts. Now let's go. The next one we apportion is rent. So and we agree with me that we are going to apportion rent using land area occupied. From our question, our rent is 200,000. Our rent is 200,000, and we are going to apportion it using the land area occupied. So rent for department A, we are told that A occupied 3 over 10 of the total land area. So 3 over 10 of times 200,000 will be the rent for A. For B, which occupies 2 over 10, so 2 over 10 of 200,000, and C that occupies 4 over 10, 4 over 10 times 200,000, and D, department D, that occupies 1 over 10 of 200,000. So this is how we are going to apportion it. Then we go 3 over 10, 3 divided by 10 times 200,000, 60,000. So rent 60,000 for A. Then 2 over 10 times 200,000 gives us 40,000 for department B. Then C, 4 over 10 times 200,000, 80,000. And D, 1 over 10 times 200,000, that gives us 20,000. So if you add everything together, 60 plus 40 plus 80 plus 20 will give us 200,000. Now, this is how we apportion. And the last one, which is salary, we know that salary will be based on number of workers in the organization. So let's apportion salaries based on number of workers, and let's see. We want to apportion salaries, and salaries is 500,000. Now you accept with me that the best basis of apportionment to use for salary is the number of workers, right? So now in department A, we have 20 workers. What's the total number of workers in the organization? 20 plus 15 in department B plus 18 in department C plus 5 in department D. That's 58 workers. 20 plus 15 plus 18 plus 5. That's 58 rather. So department A will be 20 divided by 58 times how much is salary? 500,000. 500,000. So department B is 15 over 58 times 500,000. Department C is 18 over 58 times 500,000. And department D is 5 over 58 times 500,000. So if you do that, press that in our calculator. So we have number of workers, which is salaries. We have for department A 172,413, 172,414. Let's say approximately. So department B, which is 15 divided by 58 times 500,000, that gives us 129,310. So 129,310. For department C, which is 18 divided by 58 times 500,000, that gives us 155,172. 155,172. And for department D, which is the last department, that is 5 over 58 times 500,000, and that gives us 43,103. 43,103. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to apportioning, the end of apportioning all the costs to each department using the basis of apportionment. And of course, if you had all this together, it should give you 500,000 naira. If you had all this together, it should give you 500,000 naira. So you've seen how we've apportioned electricity, rent, salaries into different departments, both production department and service department, using different bases of apportionment. Now, like I said, Most professional exams will not test your understanding on this because they know that this is very simple. You can get which basis of apportionment to use for each whatever course you have been given. There's another aspect of it that which they give you, and that will be treated majorly in my next class. Now, but before we even proceed, before I end this class, there's something I need to tell you guys, and that is that in a company or in an organization where they produce, we try as much as possible to eliminate the service department. Don't forget that I said that the service department here is department D, right? So, but because what we are doing is producing, this service department D is rendering service to these three departments. Like I said, this department D might be a service department that render massage. So rendering massage to all these departments. So what does that mean? That means that the cost of this service department D should be shared between these departments because for an organization, these are the departments that we are concerned with. Production department, sales department, marketing department. This one is massage department. So we can classify the cost as a massage department. But so what do? We apportion this cost to the three departments. So there are different ways at which we apportion this cost to the three departments, and we'll look at that in our next video class. So ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this class. If there's any other aspect you don't really understand, I advise you to take it back, and by the time we finish the course, I know your understanding will be fully enhanced. Thank you, and I'll see you right in my next video class.